Hey guys, what's going on? Just going to talk a little bit about this H1-B visa and the divide it's causing between the MAGA, the tech bros, and traditional MAGA. And you're really starting to see people's true colors. I've seen some people coming out of the racist shed that I'm not going to say that I'm shocked, but it's kind of disappointing. On one hand, they say that pretty much these elite Indians and other immigrants are coming over here and bypassing the process, pretty much cheating the system in order to expedite their way over here to economic freedom. And then you've got another side that says these elite immigrants are bringing over their own people that are lower on their caste system to work for them for free, pretty much exploit them and threaten to take away their visas and pay them low wages, but it benefits them because they can pay lower wages to someone on a visa than they can a American coming out of college, right? Just think of it as, think about being an engineer. I go to school for 4 years. I get a computer science degree. I've learned all these different coding languages and I've, given my time and money. I want to come out making 90 grand a year, especially with the mindset of our younger generations. They think off the top, if you ain't making 300 grand out of college, then that's a problem. So you have a higher demand for money here in America when they can just bring someone over who is, I'm going to be 100% honest with you, definitely way more capable of doing the job just because of their strenuous, attention to detail and how much they work at it. They're just smarter than us in that avenue. Even the ones that they're saying that aren't their elite, scholars are still really good at and really efficient at, developing software and understanding computer systems and hardware. So it's kind of a double-edged sword because you're still exploiting people. You're still taking away jobs. You're still establishing yourself in another place as better or higher in the system than anybody else. And so it goes back to their traditions and their religion. The Hindu nationalism that we're talking about now that we see is not the same, Hindu religion that is the world's oldest religion, and they feel that they're on a higher level than some people, right? So when they come over here to America, now they're millionaires and they're smart and they're at the top of their game. And so they are able to have a little bit of political and economic pull. And when you have two groups of people who feel that they are on the same level as each other, and one's from another country and one is from this country, well, you're going to have a problem. And that's what we're seeing now. Christian nationalism and Hindu nationalism, it goes hand in hand, and you have, a group of people who feel that blacks and, anybody of color, doesn't matter, if you're brown, you're not on that caste system, so you have, it's classism that turns into racism. So you have your upper class, and this is here in America. You have your upper class, and then they divide it up however they divide it up. And then anybody who's not in that system, well, they're on the outside and they are the dirty work, They're the ones that they feel that we're the ones that you can take stuff from us, and it's all right because we're not Christians, quote unquote, or whatever they feel they can use to justify all these things to harm us. And they don't look out for our best interests if you're not on that caste system. You don't have to be a Christian to be in that caste system, but you got to have a whole lot of money. So that's where it all ties in. You have capitalism, and I'm not anti-capitalism because I think you need supply and demand to be able to efficiently run a country. That's just business 101, supply and demand, and the more that you can provide, whether that's jobs, whether that's financial resources. Capitalism is what drives economy, and not only economy, it drives innovation. So you can't tell me one thing that we've given the government control of to make better, and they've done it. But everything that is private enterprise is always thriving and is always getting better. Look at SpaceX, right? Say what you want about Elon, all that, all that jazz, but you have to think, this dude has done more with SpaceX than NASA has done, since we went to the moon, right? So, it drives competition and it makes things better, it drives innovation, it creates jobs, it creates opportunities, but also creates greed. It also creates creates a system of people who think that they're better because materially they have more, or they come from a family, or they come from an area that has more wealth, whether it be resources, whether it be money or knowledge, whatever the case may be. They have something that is more beneficial to the world, in their opinion, than what you have. And some of it is just because they are a different color than you. Some of it's because they have more money than you. But for the most part, what they have is better than you. So that's what we're dealing with here. You're dealing with not only a political issue, but a social issue. And once people understand what that culture is and what their ideology is as far as how they treat people, I mean, if you're willing to bring your own people over here and make them work for less than living wages and, put them in situations that are toxic and detrimental to them, justified by you being in a certain class, that's barbaric almost, And I think that we have to start looking at how we're going to build in these industries that are needing these quote unquote specialized immigrants, right? So, I mean, think about it. Like, if you look at it from a numbers perspective, we talk about as blacks, like, we are kind of invested in it, but it's not even a game that we can even play in. Like, we can't even put a uniform on because we simply don't have the numbers in these industries to be able to say, well, you don't have to outsource the resources, to other countries. We can take it on ourselves, and that's not a knock. That's just, we're raised as we are always in a state of survival. So sometimes we have to take jobs that we may not necessarily want to take, but sometimes it just takes us too long to find something to transition to that's going to be lucrative and beneficial. And there are opportunities out there, a lot more opportunities than they had 100 years ago. However, it's still kind of tough sometimes, a lot of times, for blacks to be able to finally find their way and be on that path to progressing into their careers. Sometimes we got to take jobs that we just necessarily don't want to take because there's responsibilities that we have to take care of, right? So think about this. We've got 4% of Black Americans who are in college that have engineering majors, okay? You've got 5% that are engineers, and then you've got 18% that literally have zero, or that have a little bit of STEM education, or they're majoring in some type of STEM program in college. So we don't have the numbers to be able to go, and that's just in engineering. So we don't have the numbers to go into these positions and not only, secure it for the communities, but also to create financial independence and financial freedom. So we have $1.8 trillion worth of spending power as a Black community, right? So just as coming out of college as a software engineer, developer, data analyst, which data's the way to go. Data and AI is the way to go right now because data is like gold, and as much, information as they need from consumers and to run the AI programs, even, when we talk about, retail, or we talk about, implementing more efficient systems, like data is gold right now. So you look at one of these industries, you come out starting pay between 80 and 100 grand. Some positions are more. So if you take all those metrics that we covered and you increase those by 10% at $1.8 trillion worth of buying power, I mean, that probably triples it. I don't know the exact numbers. I just know that, a 10% increase in all those categories will take care of a generation of people. And it would take us less than probably 5 to 7 years to be able to break away from those financial shackles and that oppressed mindset that's been pushed on us for hundreds of years. So at the end of the day, we just have to understand what we're facing and what we're up against. No other culture or is going to help us get to where we need to be because they're down too. Not that we should have ever expected any help from them, because 400 years plus, they've shown us that they're not going to help us, and they don't really care about how we feel and the injustice that have been done to our people. And it's not all of them, but there's more than a handful that, if they aren't racist or they haven't done anything racist, they're not stopping racism, and they're not stopping the discrimination against, people that are qualified to be able to do specific jobs. So this is the way that we can change it. I mean, if we start allowing our children to explore different options besides sports and different things like that. And I'm not saying those things are bad, because we're really good at those things. And if you can pave a way and be able to create that, that life for yourself through a sport or through an activity or something that you truly, truly, truly love, then take that path. But you have to see the signs early. And especially now, I mean, I'm an old ex-baseball coach, actually fresh out of, I just finished coaching. Last season was my last season coaching, last baseball season last spring, right? So I can tell you, as the competition is getting tighter and you have the transfer portal, you have a lot of different obstacles for kids coming out of high school to go play college sports now. I mean, you have to be at the top of your game. You have to be, in the top, 5, maybe 10% if you're looking at going, anything lower than Division I. Now, baseball's a little different because junior college is a big avenue for baseball players, but even then, it's starting to really shut down. And so as a younger generation, they are going to have to start looking at more jobs in industry that create financial freedom. Our dollar inflates every year. Things get more expensive. We can't work for, $50,000, $60,000 anymore. That's just breaking even. We've got to strive to at least be coming out making, 70 and, 80 grand a year. And that's only going to happen if we embark on, avenues that are going to pay us the way that we deserve to be paid. You think about, they say, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And I do agree with that. I absolutely think that if you can find something that you love, whether it's sport, entertainment, a hobby, and you can make a lot of money doing that, then by all means. I mean, that's one reason I'm grateful I was able to get a business degree, because I have a lot of things that I like to do. And so it really helped me understand how to, build a business, how to, work on my own, and how to understand, supply and demand. Now, when you talk about going and, working for a Fortune 500 and having a position that's going to pay really well, no, it really didn't do that for me. I'm gonna be honest with you. And that's just because there's other certifications and other things that you got to do in order to hit that level and to be able to do those things. And they just didn't really prepare me like that. And I went to a private Catholic school, so it's not like I skimped out on education. I had a baseball scholarship, but still, I still had to pay out of pocket. So if you know how baseball scholarships work, nobody in baseball has hardly got a full ride scholarship. So I had a full ride, and it was half scholarship, how they break it down, which now they can't do that. So that's going to be a good thing for these young athletes. If they go and they offer a scholarship, it's got to be a full ride. The problem is that they're knocking off roster spots. So there's not as many roster spots open anymore. So that walk-on who's really good, he's just not good enough to get that scholarship. Well, it's going to be tougher for them to walk on and play. So either way, like I said, I mean, I say all that because we just have to be prepared, and we have to start looking at other avenues that are going to allow our youth to get jobs and buy a home at 24 years old and be able to start their family and be able to implement that fatherhood and that motherhood and that family that creates that spiritual enlightenment. I've got kids, and I'll tell you that the times that I am most at peace and most at one with myself is when I'm, here with me, my wife, and my children. And, that is the highest feeling of enlightenment you're ever going to feel. Being able to provide that future for them and create that financial stability for not only you, but your family. And if anything happens to your immediate family, you can be the one that really helps them out. And I'm not saying that you got to give them money every time they ask, but emergencies happen. And so having these more specialized skills, you have more opportunities. I mean, even when you start talking about, they do stock options. So not only are you getting a salary, but you get stock options. Create a tech startup. A lot of money going into tech right now. A lot of investment. If you have an idea and you can build a good, solid infrastructure and start a good base, you can crowdfund and get funding. Go public with your company and create jobs for blacks coming out of school to be able to keep that money in the community. We talked about a lot, but just at the end of the day, just know whatever it is, Christian nationalism, Hindu nationalism, we are not on that caste system. We're outside of it, and we can't look to them to give us the jobs that we need in order to take care of our families and our infrastructure. And you just have to understand that if they have the opportunity to bring in their own people or hire their own people, whether that be, Christian nationalists, whether that be Hindu nationalists, whether that be progressive Democrats, whoever, as long as they're able to abuse that system to bring in either the elites or the individuals that aren't on that caste system, well, we're always going to be struggling to find jobs, and we're always going to be struggling to build our economy. We can take our communities back into our own hands. We can build those solid foundations that our grandparents and our great grandparents fought hard for us to be able to do. But we got to step into those industries, and we got to lead our kids in that right direction. We got to put an emphasis on it's okay to get on a computer. It's okay to be a nerd a little bit. We use 75% more internet and social media than any other culture. Our culture is the most copied and exploited culture for the things that we do and the things that we invent. So we have to start keeping those inventions and figuring out. I was listening to Isaac Hayes III today, and he said it perfect. He said, man, we've got to figure out how to put patents and own the things that we create. So as soon as we create it, before we put it out, we got to understand and know how to patent it. And we got to know the different caveats within, certain regulations in order to bypass those loopholes to get us in a good position of being able to take care of ourselves. So, hey guys, I really appreciate you tuning in tonight. This is Ryan Brown with the American Brown Show. I'm encouraging you to fight for unity, truth, and progress without the constraints of blind allegiance. Have a good night.